Respected. Before you scroll away, give me just a few moments of your time. If you are a man over 60, what you are about to hear could change the way you think about your health, your confidence, and your future. Some habits that once seemed harmless may quietly be stealing your strength today, and by the time most men notice the damage, they wish someone had warned them sooner. As the years pass, a man begins to notice subtle changes that no one prepared him for. Energy doesn't arrive as easily in the morning. Recovery takes longer, sleep becomes lighter, confidence sometimes fades without explanation. Many men assume this is simply the unavoidable price of aging. But in reality, aging itself is not always the greatest enemy. Often, it is the small daily habits we continue without questioning that slowly shape the quality of our later years. I've spoken with countless older men who believed they were doing everything right. They exercised occasionally. They ate reasonably well. They visited their doctor when something felt wrong. Yet they still felt weaker than they expected. Their enthusiasm disappeared. Their motivation declined. Their relationships became distant. They wondered whether life after 60 was simply destined to become smaller and quieter. Then, something remarkable happened. When they began paying attention to the habits they had ignored for decades, they discovered that many of the changes they blamed on age were actually influenced by lifestyle, stress, sleep, physical activity, and the way they cared for their bodies. They realized it is never just one dramatic event that transforms a man's health. It is the collection of ordinary decisions repeated every single day. One gentleman shared his story with me. At 68, he felt embarrassed to admit that he had become isolated. His wife had passed away years earlier. His children lived in different cities. His evenings were filled with television, loneliness, and routines that offered temporary comfort but never lasting satisfaction. He wasn't looking for excitement anymore. He simply wanted to feel alive again. He believed there was no point in changing because he thought his best years were behind him, but they weren't. Instead of chasing miracle supplements or unrealistic promises, he focused on rebuilding the foundations of health. Better sleep, daily walking, gentle strength training, staying hydrated, speaking openly with his physician about changes he was experiencing instead of suffering in silence, reconnecting with friends, discovering hobbies that gave his mind purpose again. Within months, the sadness that had weighed heavily on his shoulders began to lift. His posture changed. His smile returned. He laughed more often. His confidence grew not because he had become younger, but because he had begun respecting the body he still had. That is something every man needs to hear. Your body after 60 deserves more care than ever before. It is not fragile, but it is different. Recovery is different. Hormonal balance changes. Blood circulation changes. Stress affects you differently than it did at 30. What once seemed harmless may now deserve a second look. This is why today's conversation matters. We're not here to create fear. We're here to replace myths with wisdom. Too many men rely on outdated beliefs, internet rumors, or conversations filled with embarrassment instead of facts. They never ask questions because they assume they should already know the answers. There is no shame in learning. In fact, the wisest men are those who continue learning throughout their lives. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore 7 common mistakes that many men over 60 unknowingly make. These aren't discussed to judge anyone. They're discussed because awareness gives you the opportunity to make healthier choices. Small adjustments combined with regular medical guidance, a balanced lifestyle, and self-awareness can make a meaningful difference in overall well-being and quality of life. Remember, sexual health is only one part of your overall health. Your heart, your brain, your muscles, your emotional well-being, your sleep, your relationships, and your daily habits are all connected. When one improves, the others often benefit as well. Too many men spend years searching for a secret solution while overlooking the simple practices that truly support healthy aging. Imagine looking back 5 years from now, knowing that today was the day you decided to take your health seriously, not because someone frightened you, but because you finally realized your future is still being written. Your age does not define your possibilities, your habits do. If you've reached this point in the video, it tells me something important. It tells me that somewhere inside you is still the man who wants to grow stronger, wiser, and healthier. That man deserves your attention. He deserves your patience. Most importantly, he deserves your respect, because it is never too late to care for the only body that will carry you through the rest of your journey. As we continue, I want you to remember one important truth. This conversation is not about guilt, it is about awareness. Every man has habits that were formed at a different stage of life. What mattered at 30 is not always what serves you at 60 or 70. The body changes, and wisdom means changing with it instead of pretending nothing has happened. The first mistake many older men make is treating masturbation as an escape from loneliness, rather than understanding what their heart is truly asking for. Loneliness is a quiet visitor. It doesn't knock loudly. It settles into empty rooms, silent dinners, and evenings that seem to stretch forever. For many men over 60, retirement changes their daily routine. Friends become fewer. Children become busy with their own lives. Sometimes a spouse is lost or a relationship becomes emotionally distant. In those moments, temporary distractions can seem like the easiest solution. But loneliness is not a physical problem. It is an emotional one. When emotional pain is repeatedly covered instead of addressed, it often grows stronger. A few moments of distraction may offer temporary relief, but they cannot replace meaningful human connection. A conversation with a friend, a walk through the neighborhood, joining a community group, spending time with grandchildren, learning a new skill. These experiences nourish the mind in ways that no temporary habit ever can. One retired engineer once confessed that every evening followed exactly the same routine. Dinner alone, television until midnight, then another lonely night. He believed nothing could change because he was too old to begin again. One morning, he forced himself to visit a local park instead of staying inside. He met another gentleman who had also lost his wife. Their conversation lasted nearly 2 hours. That single meeting became a daily habit. Months later, he smiled as he admitted, "I wasn't missing entertainment. I was missing friendship." Sometimes what we think is a physical need is actually our heart asking not to be forgotten. The second mistake is ignoring pain, discomfort, or unexpected changes, and assuming they are simply part of aging. Many older men have spent their entire lives believing that asking for help is a sign of weakness. They tolerate symptoms they should discuss with a healthcare professional. They notice discomfort, but remain silent. They convince themselves that every change is just old age. But your body speaks through symptoms. Pain is information. Persistent discomfort is information. Changes that concern you deserve attention, not embarrassment. Whether it involves urinary health, erectile function, pelvic discomfort, or any other intimate concern, speaking openly with your doctor is one of the strongest decisions a man can make. Modern medicine exists to help people, not judge them. I've met men who waited years before discussing problems that could have been evaluated much earlier. Their greatest regret was never the appointment itself. Their greatest regret was waiting. Your health deserves honesty. The third mistake is believing that frequency matters more than overall health. Many people become trapped by comparisons. They compare themselves to stories online, to memories from decades ago, or to unrealistic expectations created by entertainment and social media. But your body is not competing against anyone else's. Healthy aging is not measured by matching another man's experience. It is measured by how well your body functions, how energetic you feel, how peacefully you sleep, how confidently you move, and how fully you enjoy life. A 72-year-old farmer once laughed while telling me, "I spent years worrying about things that didn't matter, while ignoring the things that actually kept me healthy." Every morning he walked 3 miles. He tended his garden, he cooked fresh meals, he stayed socially active. His confidence came from taking care of himself, not from trying to prove anything to anyone. That is real strength. The strongest man in the room is rarely the loudest. He is the one who quietly protects his health every single day. The fourth mistake is neglecting physical fitness while expecting the body to perform the way it once did. Movement is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself after 60. Walking improves circulation. Strength exercises help preserve muscle. Flexibility supports balance. Simple daily activity benefits the heart, the mind, and overall well-being. Many men underestimate how connected physical activity is to every other aspect of health. One gentleman began with just 10 minutes of walking each morning because that was all he felt capable of doing. 10 minutes became 20. 20 became 40. A year later, he proudly told his family he had completed his first charity walk. Not because someone forced him, because he finally believed he still had something worth caring for. Every healthy step he took became a declaration. My life still matters. Think about those words. Your life still matters. Not because of your age, not because of your career, not because of what you've accomplished. It matters because you are still here. And while you are here, every sunrise gives you another opportunity to make choices that support your health, your independence, and your happiness. No one can promise perfect health, but every man can choose better habits, better sleep, better nutrition, regular movement, meaningful relationships, honest conversations with healthcare professionals. These are the foundations that quietly support a fulfilling life long after 60. The remaining mistakes are just as important because they involve the everyday decisions that many men overlook without realizing the impact those choices can have over time. As we move forward, I want you to imagine yourself 10 years from now. Picture the man you hope to become. Does he walk with confidence? Does he wake up with purpose? Does he enjoy conversations with the people he loves? Or does he spend each day wishing he had taken better care of himself when he still had the chance? That future version of you is being shaped today, not by one dramatic decision, but by the ordinary choices you repeat every day. The fifth mistake many men over 60 make is allowing poor sleep to quietly undermine every other aspect of their health. Sleep is often treated as if it were a luxury. It is not. It is one of the body's most important periods of restoration. During healthy sleep, your brain organizes memories, your muscles recover, your immune system works, hormonal processes that influence energy, mood, and overall health continue throughout the night. When sleep is consistently poor, almost every part of your well-being can suffer. Yet many older men accept restless nights as something they simply have to live with. I've always been a light sleeper. I only need 4 hours. This is just what happens after 60. Those statements become so familiar that they stop questioning them. But poor sleep deserves attention. Sometimes the solution is as simple as reducing caffeine late in the day, keeping a consistent bedtime, avoiding bright screens before sleeping, or discussing persistent sleep problems with a healthcare professional. One retired teacher told me that he had spent years waking several times every night. He felt exhausted every morning, but he blamed his age. Finally, after encouragement from his daughter, he spoke with his physician. They identified factors contributing to his poor sleep and helped him develop healthier routines. A few months later, he smiled and said, "I didn't realize how tired I'd been until I finally started sleeping well again." That sentence stayed with me. Sometimes we become so accustomed to feeling exhausted that we forget what feeling truly rested is like. The sixth mistake is believing that nutrition no longer matters because the damage has already been done. Nothing could be further from the truth. Your body continues responding to healthy choices throughout life. Every balanced meal provides nutrients that support your muscles, bones, heart, brain, and immune system. Hydration continues to matter. Protein continues to matter. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats continue to matter. No meal can erase decades of unhealthy habits. But every healthy meal is a vote for the person you are becoming. I remember visiting an older gentleman who proudly showed me his medicine cabinet. Shelf after shelf was filled with bottles promising miracles. Then I walked into his kitchen. Processed snacks filled the cupboards. Sugary drinks occupied the refrigerator. Fresh foods were almost impossible to find. He hoped supplements would compensate for everyday choices. Months later, he decided to make gradual changes instead of chasing quick fixes. He learned simple recipes. He drank more water. He cooked instead of relying on packaged meals. He didn't become perfect. He became consistent. That consistency transformed how he felt. Not overnight, but steadily. Health rarely arrives through dramatic moments. It grows quietly through ordinary discipline. The seventh and perhaps most important mistake is allowing shame to prevent honest conversations. For generations, many men were taught to remain silent. Do not complain. Do not cry. Do not admit fear. Do not ask questions. Those messages may sound strong on the surface, but they often leave men carrying burdens alone. There is nothing weak about saying, "I've noticed something different." There is nothing weak about asking your doctor a question. There is nothing weak about speaking with your partner honestly. There is nothing weak about telling a trusted friend that you've been struggling emotionally. Real courage is not pretending everything is fine. Real courage is choosing honesty even when it feels uncomfortable. One 74-year-old gentleman told me something I have never forgotten. He said, "I spent 40 years protecting my pride and only started protecting my health after retirement." Think about that. How many years do we sacrifice because we fear embarrassment? How many opportunities disappear because we refuse to ask for guidance? The strongest men I have ever met all shared one quality. They were willing to learn, no matter their age, no matter their background, no matter how successful they had been. They remained students of life. They adapted, they listened, they improved. That mindset is available to every man watching today. You do not need perfection. You need willingness, a willingness to move your body, a willingness to nourish it, a willingness to rest, a willingness to build meaningful relationships, a willingness to seek medical advice when something concerns you, a willingness to replace fear with knowledge. That is how dignity grows stronger with age. That is how confidence returns. That is how a man continues writing new chapters long after society tells him his story is over. And let me remind you of something that is easy to forget. Growing older is not evidence that life is shrinking. It is evidence that life has given you experience. Experience becomes wisdom only when you use it. Today can become the day you stop living on autopilot. Today can become the day you stop accepting less than the healthiest life you can reasonably build. Not because you fear aging, but because you have finally decided that every remaining year deserves your very best. There is one final thought I want to leave with you before we bring this journey to its closing moments. Life has a remarkable way of teaching us lessons we never expected to learn. When we are young, we believe strength is measured by how much we can endure. We ignore discomfort, dismiss warning signs, and convince ourselves that tomorrow will always give us another chance. But as the years pass, we begin to understand that true strength is not found in ignoring our bodies. It is found in listening to them. I once met an 80-year-old gentleman who carried himself with extraordinary dignity. His steps were slow, but his spirit was youthful. His handshake was firm, his smile genuine, and his eyes reflected the kind of peace that only comes from a life well lived. I asked him what his greatest lesson had been. He paused for a moment before saying something I have carried with me ever since. When I was younger, I believed my body existed to serve me. As I grew older, I realized I was meant to serve my body. Those simple words contained decades of wisdom. Too often we demand more from our bodies than we are willing to give in return. We expect energy without rest. We expect strength without movement. We expect resilience without nourishment. We expect confidence while neglecting our physical and emotional well-being. But the human body has always operated on a simple principle. It responds to care. Treat it with patience and it becomes stronger. Treat it with respect, and it rewards you in ways that cannot be measured by a number on a birthday cake. That is why the 7 mistakes we discussed today are not merely habits to avoid. They are reminders that every decision you make is either investing in your future or quietly taking something away from it. If loneliness has become part of your life, seek connection instead of isolation. If something about your health concerns you, have the courage to discuss it with a qualified healthcare professional instead of hoping it disappears on its own. If you've neglected movement, begin with a single walk. If your meals have become an afterthought, prepare one healthier plate tomorrow. If sleep has been poor, give your evenings the attention they deserve. If shame has kept you silent, remember that asking for help is one of the most courageous choices any man can make. And if you've spent years believing it's too late to change, let that belief end today. Because it isn't your age that determines your future. It is your willingness to begin. There's another story I'd like to share before we finish. A man in his late 70s once wrote me a letter after making several small changes in his daily routine. He didn't describe dramatic transformations or impossible miracles. Instead, he wrote about ordinary moments that had become extraordinary again. He could climb the stairs without stopping halfway. He laughed more often with his grandchildren. He found joy in tending his garden every morning. He and his daughter began taking evening walks together every Sunday. He felt more present during conversations because he wasn't constantly exhausted. Near the end of his letter, he wrote something that touched me deeply. I thought I was trying to add years to my life. Instead, I discovered I was adding life to my years. Read those words again in your heart. Adding life to your years. That is the true purpose of healthy aging. Not chasing perfection, not trying to become 30 again, not comparing yourself with anyone else, simply becoming the healthiest version of the man you are today. There will always be voices promising instant results. There will always be advertisements claiming that one product, one pill, or one secret technique will solve everything. Be careful of easy answers to complex questions. Real health is rarely built overnight. It is built in quiet moments when no one is watching. Choosing water instead of another sugary drink. Taking a walk even when you don't feel like it. Scheduling a medical checkup instead of postponing it. Turning off the television a little earlier to get better sleep. Calling an old friend instead of spending another evening alone. Preparing a wholesome meal because your future self deserves that kindness. These actions may seem small, but small actions repeated consistently become extraordinary results. As you grow older, your greatest wealth is not measured by possessions. It is measured by your ability to enjoy another sunrise, to embrace the people you love, to remain independent, to continue learning, to continue laughing, to continue serving others, to continue discovering that life still has beautiful chapters waiting to be written. Never allow society to convince you that aging means becoming invisible. You are not invisible. Your experience matters. Your wisdom matters. Your presence matters. Someone in your family still needs your guidance. Someone in your community still benefits from your kindness. Someone is watching how you live and learning what it means to grow older with grace. That is a responsibility worth embracing. So when tomorrow morning arrives, don't think about changing everything. Think about changing one thing. One healthier meal, one walk around the neighborhood, one honest conversation, one earlier bedtime, one appointment you've been delaying, one choice that honors the remarkable body that has carried you through every challenge you've ever faced. Those small choices, repeated over weeks, months, and years, become the legacy of a healthy and meaningful life. And one day, perhaps many years from now, you'll look back and realize that the greatest gift you ever gave yourself was deciding that your health, your dignity, and your future were worth protecting. The journey we've shared today is not really about 7 mistakes. It is about one decision. The decision to stop drifting through life and begin living with intention once again. If there is one message I hope remains with you long after this video ends, it is this. Growing older is not a sentence. It is a privilege. Every wrinkle carries a lesson. Every gray hair tells a story. Every sunrise you witness is another opportunity that millions of people never received. Do not spend those opportunities wishing for the body you had 40 years ago. Honor the body that has carried you this far. Care for it with gratitude. Protect it with wisdom. Strengthen it with healthy choices. And forgive it for not being 25 anymore. Real confidence does not come from pretending you never age. It comes from knowing that you can still live with purpose, kindness, discipline, and hope. No matter your age, your next chapter has not been written yet. The man you become tomorrow is being shaped by the choices you make today. So when you wake up in the morning, stand a little taller, drink that glass of water, take that walk, prepare that nourishing meal, keep that doctor's appointment if something has been worrying you. Call someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Smile more often, laugh without embarrassment. Move your body with gratitude instead of criticism. And remember that taking care of yourself is never selfish. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give to the people who love you. Because a healthier you means more conversations with your family, more walks with your grandchildren, more mornings filled with hope instead of regret, more memories still waiting to be created. If today's message touched your heart, don't let it end as just another video you watched. Let it become the day you chose yourself, not through dramatic promises, not through shortcuts, but through one small decision after another. Those tiny decisions will become stronger habits. Those habits will become a healthier lifestyle, and that lifestyle will become the legacy you leave behind. Remember this whenever doubt begins to whisper that it's too late. It is never too late to eat one healthier meal. It is never too late to take one more walk. It is never too late to ask one important question. It is never too late to rebuild your confidence. It is never too late to choose hope over fear. and it is never too late to become the man your future self will thank you for becoming. Thank you for spending these moments with me and allowing me to be part of your journey. If this message encouraged you, inspired you, or reminded you of someone you care about, share it with another man who may need to hear these words today. You never know whose life could be changed by a simple act of kindness. Take good care of yourself. Stay curious, stay humble, stay grateful, and above all, remember that the strongest men are not those who never change. They are the ones who have the courage to change before it's too late. Until we meet again, may your days be filled with strength, wisdom, peace, and the quiet confidence that comes from living each day with purpose. Thank you for watching, and may your healthiest years still be ahead of you.